What is going on, world? What's up, YouTube? It's Zero here. Today I'm bringing you guys a brand new episode of The 8 Below Show. Welcome everyone to 8 Below. Thanks for being here, guys, to the best entertainment-related show here on YouTube. And I'm super excited about our episode here today. We have a lot of stuff to talk about, so let's get into it. Today's show is going to be really exciting, guys. I've got a number of things that we're going to be talking about here in this episode of the show, but none bigger or more exciting than today being the very first time that I will be doing a TV show review. And I'm super excited about it, guys, because now that we're starting to incorporate reviews into segments of the show, I'm going to start doing that even from a TV show perspective. Not only are we going to be doing movies, we're also going to be doing TV shows and game reviews as well. And so today, our very first TV show review is for the new show that came out on Netflix called Clickbait. So let's get into it. So Clickbait, guys, is going to be my very first TV show review, and I just want to talk about it with you guys. As you probably know, after my Malignant movie review, my reviews are usually, for the most part, different from what other people are doing as far as reviews are concerned. I like just having a real conversation, unedited conversation with you guys, and I love to hear your guys' thoughts in the comment section down below. And many times I kind of jump all over the place when it comes to a review, whether we're talking a movie, in this case, a TV show. So bear with me as I'm kind of bouncing around, but we're going to be talking about Clickbait, season 1 of the show. It's a limited mini-series that has 8 episodes up to this point in time that was released by Netflix. Clickbait, guys, it's a American-Australian drama streaming television miniseries created by Tony Aries and Christian White. Clickbait explores the ways dangerous and uncontrolled impulses are fueled in the age of social media and reveals the ever-widening fractures between virtual and real-life personas. It is set in Oakland, California, but was mostly filmed in Melbourne, Australia. So let's talk about this show, guys. Overall, from the very get-go, I kind of got hooked on this show. There were moments in time throughout the course of these episodes. Every once in a while, there would be an episode that would come up that really kind of, I guess the best word to use was it kind of gave me reminders, or it kind of had a reminiscence of shows I've seen in the past, right? CSI, Law and Order. I specifically kind of got this feeling from the episode, it was called The Wife, and it was based around the wife in the show, and each episode, they're kind of positioned or really focused on one individual in each episode of Clickbait. And I gotta tell you, though, that this show overall, minus a couple of episodes that felt a little bit cliche or kind of felt like they were taking things from other shows, whether that being like CSI, Law and Order, things of that nature, overall, it really kind of did stand on its own, and I absolutely love that. And one thing that I'm really excited about, guys, is the future here of Clickbait. I think that this is a show that is certainly getting a lot of buzz, a lot of popularity up to this point in time. I think that they definitely set up something pretty special here, because Netflix has spent so much money, guys, on creating original content, and a lot of the stuff that they're bringing out is not so good. Now, there's certainly some stuff that they're bringing out that's very good and people really enjoy. They're just building this massive library, and Clickbait being a part of that library, I think it's going to fit just perfectly in the segment of something that people are going to be talking about for a while. Will this be something like Ozark or Stranger Things that gets long, withstanding runs as far as from a franchise perspective? It's hard to tell. This was, it was, dubbed obviously a mini-series, right? Or a limited series for Netflix. I'm wondering, though, if they're going to expand this into something bigger. Are they going to do spin-offs? What are they going to do here? There's also things about this show, guys, that remind me of Black Mirror from Netflix as well. Just kind of each episode's a little bit different, and obviously focused on a single individual, but you're kind of getting different segments of the story. And as you're uncovering more and more, we're not going to get into spoilers, guys, because I'm just giving you my initial thoughts on the show and what I kind of thought of the show as a whole up to this point in time, that being season 1. I've got to tell you that from an actor's perspective, I think acting was fantastic in this season. I thought acting was very well done. I loved all of when we're talking about the The main cast guys, Zoe Kazan, she played Pia. Betty Gabriel played Sophie Brewer. I just really think, guys, that there were a number of individuals that really stood out to me. I've got it, and that really comes to pretty much everybody in the show. I really thought that there wasn't necessarily like a weakest link when it came to the acting. The set pieces I thought were great, guys, and as you're kind of uncovering more and more of the story, it really was one of those shows that really draws you in, and that's what you want from especially the first season of any show that comes out. You really want to be drawn in and like captivated immediately. And I thought that Clickbait had that impact. After episode 1, you want to continue watching the show. And there are shows out there that don't do this. They take a little bit longer to build up. I'll give you an example like Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones, guys, many people love that show. For me, though, it took so long to build up, I felt, that I lost interest. Now, this is a show, though, these are the types of shows that really I love to watch because they hook you immediately. Stranger Things, Ozark, Clickbait now. These are shows that really hook me, and I get hooked after the very first episode. It's like, man, I want to learn more about this world, more about what's happening, and kind of uncover everything. And sure, guys, there's a lot of what I would consider at the end of Clickbait, without giving any spoilers away, there's a lot of ways that you could say, there's open-ended ordeals. It doesn't necessarily feel like it's totally closed off. Like they left, room to grow, room to continue this legacy, this show moving forward. And I think that was a really smart move by the creators, of course, Tony Aries and Christian White. I think it was really smart on their part to go ahead and kind of leave it somewhat open-ended. Not that they, had planned on making this a long withstanding series, but what they wanted to do was make this season the best it possibly could. And if they ever made another season, awesome. If not, they could feel satisfied with what they did. And so I think either way, I love this show, guys. I think it's great. I thought there were a lot of twists and turns as you're going throughout the season. And I love how each episode was focused on a different individual that had something to do with the story as a whole. And I got to tell you guys, I loved it. I loved season 1. I thought it was great. I thought that there was, a lot to take from it. Outside of all the cliches that I felt, a couple of episodes left us with some cliches from, other shows. And, I had kind of moments where I thought of CSI, where I thought of Law and Order. But overall, I thought that this was something pretty special. So I'm going to give it, guys, an 8 out of 10. It's a really good show, guys. Out of all the shows that you could watch on Netflix, I definitely recommend checking it out for sure. Sure, no show or movie is without flaws. It certainly has flaws at certain segments and certain points, whether you're talking cliches or certain, story elements that you might not think are the best. But I thought overall, from an overall story perspective, I thought it was fantastic. And it was, I'll be definitely looking forward to a second season should that come. It should already have, season 2 and 3 should be already greenlit by Netflix. But I'll keep you guys all posted and up to speed as more information comes out about that. But the real question is, what do you guys think about Clickbait as a show? Let me know in the comment section down below. I'd love to have a real conversation with you guys. And for more Clickbait content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. Moonfall is an upcoming title by Roland Emmerich as the director. And guys, he is an absolutely awesome disaster movie creator. I've really loved some of his movies. Some of them aren't as good as others, obviously. But I gotta tell you that Moonfall is one of those movies, once I saw the initial trailer and things of that nature, when we started reading a little bit about it, I gotta tell you that Moonfall is climbing up my list of anticipated movies. I'm pretty excited about this one. I want to talk in this segment of the show, though, about everything that we know so far about Moonfall. We can break it down, and I would love to hear your guys' thoughts in the comment section down below. So let's get into it. In an article written by Andrew Webster of The Verge, Moonfall is a disaster movie about the moon falling. You pretty much always know what to expect from a Roland Emmerich movie, namely that a good chunk of the planet is going to be destroyed. The director of films like 2012 and The Day After Tomorrow is now taking that to its logical extreme with Moonfall, a movie about the moon falling. According to the synopsis, the movie is set when a mysterious force knocks the moon from its orbit around Earth and sends it hurtling on a collision course with life as we know it. It stars Halle Berry as a NASA exec who seems to know how to stop it, but the only people who believe her are a former astronaut played by Patrick Wilson and a conspiracy theorist, John Bradley. These unlikely heroes will mount an impossible last-ditch mission into space, leaving behind everyone they love, only to find out that our moon is not what we think it is. Really, Moonfall sounds like what would happen if you mashed a Hollywood disaster movie with Destiny lore, which is to say it sounds like a lot of fun. It's expected to come out in theaters on February 4th, 2022. So let's talk about Roland Emmerich as a director, guys. Number one is when you've seen, or if you've seen 2012 and The Day After Tomorrow, two fantastic movies. I absolutely love 2012 and The Day After Tomorrow. I think they're a couple of the best disaster movies we've ever had. They're just, they're big in scope, big in scale, disaster, of course, after disaster. And I think that Roland Emmerich was made to make these types of movies. And so Moonfall is definitely something down his alley. I really I'm a fan of his, but I've got to also tell you that I like the cast that he's starting to build, that he built here. When we talk about, Halle Berry, you're talking about Patrick Wilson. I love the concept of having some really, high-end actors here once again, like he had in The Day After Tomorrow, like he had in 2012, and do that, that continuation here. It's going to be interesting. It looks like they've poured a lot of, money into this project, and that makes me very excited. We know a lot, but we know very little about this as a whole. I mean, when we look at the synopsis just of this, movie, it's interesting to see where it says only to find out that our moon is not what we think it is. And that is a very interesting concept to me. What is the moon then in this universe that in this story that he's trying to tell? So it's going to be interesting, guys. I'm very excited about it for sure. There's a lot to, that we can take here, but there's also a lot of mystery, which I think is something that Roland Emmerich does really well. You know what you're going into when you watch a Roland Emmerich movie. That being, it's going to be a disaster movie. It's going to be a lot of damage done, and you're going to be in for a hell of a ride. And that's what I think we're going to get here, is something that's going to be just exciting. It's going to be very fast-paced. There's going to be moments that are, going to be intense, of course. But I think that there is going to be a story here as well. With the actors that he's got and actresses, I think that he's going to have something, hopefully these actors and actresses do a good job of being able to, whether it's be relatable or have that, all those characteristics of being relatable to one another, and that's going to be something really interesting, and we'll have to kind of wait and see as we get more information, though, about Moonfall. I will definitely keep you guys posted as we get it, but it looks like this movie is going to be coming out February 4th, 2022 in theaters. I'm excited about it. Are you guys excited about it? Let me know in the comment section down below, and for more Moonfall content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. The excitement is building for the upcoming title, guys, The Kingsmen. And this is a title, guys, I'm really excited about because this is Kingsman 3, right? And, up to this point, I love what they started with this series, with this franchise as a whole. Absolutely blew my mind. I never really thought I was going to actually enjoy the first movie and absolutely loved it. The second one I loved as well. And I can't wait to see where this story is going moving forward. And so I want to talk about in this segment of the show everything that we know about the Kingsmen and everything that we know about this story, about this world, and I would love to hear what you guys think in the comment section down below. So let's get into it. In an article, guys, written by Jerica Tisdale of Cinema Blend, The Kingsmen is the third entry in the Kingsman franchise. It's not exactly Kingsman 3 because it's a prequel film, but it is an important film in the franchise. It dives deeper in the history of the organization and introduces fans of the franchise to a new set of characters and stories about them. The Kingsmen will expand the universe and help fans wait for Kingsman 3 and Taron Egerton and Colin Firth. The Kingsmen is one of the highly anticipated 2021 movies, so let's explore and see what we know about it. So, Yes, guys, this is very much so on a lot of people's, most anticipated list. It's certainly up there for me as well. Obviously, not having, Colin Firth as well as Taron Egerton in it, obviously, is going to tamper, like, my excitement a little bit. But I got to say, I'm excited just to continue seeing the evolution of this franchise. It sounds like they really want to create something special long term. They want to build this story out. And I love that concept. It sounds like they really want to kind of move in a direction where there's a long withstanding franchise here, something similar to maybe James Bond and movies of that nature, something that withstands the test of time. And they're really trying to do that by building the franchise in the story and even going back in time before, a lot of the events of what we've seen up to this point. So it's set for release, guys, December 22 of 2021. The Kingsmen went into production in 2018, began filming in early 2019. Its original release date was set for November 15, 2019, but by February 2019, it was moved to a February 14, 2020 release date. In November 2019, it was moved from February to September 18, 2020. Then in 2020, the pandemic hit, and many movies had to delay the releases. In August 2020, The Kingsman was pushed from September to February 26th of 2021. In January 2021, it received an August 2021 release date. Now The Kingsman has settled on a December 22nd, 2021 release date. The film could be moved yet again in the upcoming months, but it's highly likely that The Kingsman will premiere on its current December date because the recent box office numbers seem to indicate that movie fans are returning to the theater. This means that The Kingsman could possibly perform well during the Christmas 2021 box office season. So a lot going on here. Now, the first thing, and you guys probably are aware, we talk about this all the time on the YouTube channel, when I see that there's a release date and it's been moved multiple times, there's something that goes off, it's like a red flag to me. That is concerning. And the reason is, guys, obviously, minus the pandemic, okay? It got delayed before the pandemic even hit, right? And so it was getting delayed. What that tells me is that there's either creative differences or potentially there's a development hell perspective going on here where the movie is just having a tough time, right? In production, like I said, maybe there's creative differences going on. Maybe there's not. Maybe they just want to take their time making sure the movie is perfect, and I'm totally behind that. But when I see a movie getting delayed in a major way a number of times, it does concern me. That being said, though, guys, that's not going to, bring my excitement down, right, for the movie. The Kingsman includes a cast of new characters led by Ralph Fiennes and Harris Dickinson. In The Kingsman, Ralph Fiennes plays the lead character, the Duke of Oxford. He appears to be the one who establishes the Kingsmen and recruits other members. One of the main characters is Conrad, played by Harris Dickinson. He's the Duke's son. Gemma Arterton and Jimon Hunsi play two other Kingsmen members, Polly and Shola. Stanley Tucci will be playing either the original or another Merlin. Mark Strong played Merlin in the first two Kingsman movies. So, to say the least, they've got a pretty stellar cast here. I mean, for sure. Now, Kingsman fans may recognize that name because it's Eggsy, which is Taron Egerton's father's name. This could mean that Taylor Johnson will play a younger version of Eggsy's father, or he'll be playing his grandfather, even great-grandfather. Based on the time period of when The Kingsman is set, it makes the most sense for him to be Eggsy's great-grandfather, unless The Kingsman is about to introduce time travel into the franchise, which would be very, very interesting to say the least. One familiar presence Kingsman fans can expect is director Matthew Vaughn, who also directed the first two movies, and that's where I get a ton of excitement. Matthew Vaughn is still helming these movies, and that's that's just really encouraging, guys, that we're not seeing another director come in. Usually, I get a little bit nervous when the same director is making, multiple movies in the same franchise, because I think it's always good to have a new director, have that director's vision for the future of the franchise. But Matthew Vaughn, it seems like he's going to be very hands-on deck here for this title. He may even direct another one in the Kingsman franchise, and then I would say maybe he'll pass the torch off, because then at that point, it's good to have, other people bring in their creative, efforts and minds in, when it comes to these movies of this magnitude. Now, the time period here, Kingsman takes place in the early 1900s and is set during World War I. The plot synopsis describes the film as one man's journey to stop terrible criminals and masterminds from creating a war that would wipe out millions. Because The Kingsman takes place in the early 1900s, Vaughn used old films for inspiration. Very interesting. I'm excited about that. So the Kingsman lays the groundwork for the Kingsman 3. Though the Kingsman won't be a direct sequel, it will influence future entries in the Kingsman franchise. In an interview with Empire, Matthew Vaughn revealed that the Kingsman will have a connection to Kingsman 3. He said, we've put seeds for what's going to happen in Kingsman 3 all the way back into this, and it's going to be very different. In 2019, Edgerton confirmed to comicbook.com that a script had already been written for Kingsman 3. Also in 2019, Vaughn told Digital Spy that it would be the final chapter of Eggsy and Harry, Colin Firth's relationship. However, it won't be the end of the Kingsman franchise. Very interesting. You got to remember that, guys, that it's not the end of the franchise. So it's interesting because the Kingsman addresses modern day topics. It may take place in the early 1900s, but it still has topics that speak to a modern audience. Vaughn spoke to Cinema Blend and had this to say. That was odd about this film. It's very relevant to a modern audience. I want kids to see that when crazy people are running the world, things can get out of control very, very quickly. I think we're in a political climate which is very similar to the pre-World War I climate, where nobody thought there could be a war, and then there was a war and nobody understood why there was a war. Very interesting concepts here by Matthew Vaughn for sure. The Kingsman has released multiple trailers. You guys can check those out. Lots of really cool trailers, guys, for the Kingsman. And yes, I got to tell you guys, this is certainly climbing the list of my most anticipated movies of the rest of this year. I'm really excited to see this movie. I really hope, though, that they can stick to that, December release date, because obviously we've been waiting a long time for this. I want this to release, guys, and yes, more and more people are going back to the movie theaters, and I got to say, I'm very, very excited about this. Even though I'm a little bit concerned about how many times it was delayed in the past, that does give me a little bit of some hesitation, but nonetheless, I'm still really excited about it. Let me know, though, guys, are you excited about The Kingsman? What do you guys think about it? Where do you think they're going with the story? How do you think it's going to connect to Kingsman 3? Let me know in the comment section down below. And for more The Kingsman content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. We've talked on the YouTube channel about Evolve in this franchise moving forward, or I should just say this title moving forward, because we've only had one Evolve title up to this point, guys, and I want to talk about, in this segment of the show, will we see Evolve 2? And any content based around the Evolve universe, guys, you guys can check out here on the YouTube channel. But Evolve 2, guys, is one of those titles I've been preaching on the YouTube channel to get made. I want to see a continuation here. I thought that Evolve was a title that was beyond its time. It was certainly a title that I felt had a lot of opportunity. It was kind of like a Dead by Daylight before Dead by Daylight, and a lot of these other titles before they came out, and it was kind of like an original, and there were a number of reasons why we saw the demise of Evolve, as from the player base to just a number of microtransactions, things of that nature, lots of different editions that you could buy. So the big question is, will we see an Evolve 2? Let's talk about it. So guys, according to the Wikipedia page for Evolve, when we look at the sales, two things kill a franchise, or really a continuation, whatever you want to call it. Number one is obviously the sales. If the sales are weak, guys, that's where you're most likely not going to see a sequel, because the sales, at the end of the day, it's all about money to these developers, to the publishers, and so the bottom line is it has to be successful. Number two is the reviews. Is the critical reception very positive? So those are the two things that we got to kind of look at here with Evolve. So let's talk about that. So Evolve, it debuted number one in the UK software sales chart. The first title 2K Games had published to take the number one spot since March 2013. Evolve was the best-selling game in the United States in February, according to the MPD group, only behind the handheld game The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask 3D. However, the average player count on Steam declined significantly since the game's launch. The game's player count increased 15,930% and was listed as one of Steam's most played games after its transition to a free-to-play model. More than 1 million new players played the game after the transition, but it almost felt like it was like a little bit too little too late. It felt like they didn't go free to play soon enough, and this was just one of those titles, guys, that I feel was brought out at a time where there was, it was trying to disrupt the gaming space, trying to kind of disrupt this kind of genre of games, and it was still trying to kind of figure its way. And we've seen games like I just mentioned about, like Dead by Daylight, that really kind of took those models and figured it out and really took it to the next level. But that being said, financial analyst Doug Kreutz of the Cowen Group estimated only 300,000 physical copies were sold in Evolve's launch month, and by its current sales rate, a well below average figure for the AAA gaming industry. Kreutz stated that Evolve may be too niche to reach a wide audience, adding that the negative reception to its DLC plan has hindered its success considerably. Despite such estimations, Karl Slatoff, president of Take-Two Interactive, stated that Evolve has achieved an incredibly successful launch and that the company was very satisfied with the sales of the game. As of May 2015, 2.5 million copies of the game had been shipped. Take-Two CEO Strauss Zelnick considered the property one of their permanent franchises, joining Grand Theft Auto, BioShock, and Red Dead. So, obviously, guys, the CEO saying it's one of the permanent franchises, but we haven't seen a continuation since the first title, and we're talking a long time ago, right? And so, here's the thing. To me, the sales certainly could have been better. Obviously, Take-Two saying it was good, and they felt they were happy with it. However, obviously, we haven't seen a continuation, so they probably were thinking we're going to move in a different direction here. Now, as far as the reception goes, guys, because that's number 2, the sales were obviously, to some folks, was pretty good. To others, wasn't very good at all. And I feel like the player base is really where we saw the decline. There was a massive decline in the player base based on the DLC, based on microtransactions, things of that nature. Now, let's talk about the reception. Destructoid had it at a 6 out of 10, 10 being the best. Game Informer had it 8.5 out of 10. IGN gave it a 9 out of 10. So when I look at that, I think to myself, okay, the reception was pretty good. It was above average for sure, and a number of people did enjoy it. So what can we take from this? So the sales obviously were so-so. The reception was pretty good. So where does that leave us here with Evolve 2? I believe, guys, that this is a title that could very well come back in the future, but it's going to come down to the fan base. It's going to come down to us voicing our opinion, saying, hey, to Take-Two Interactive, we want another Evolve made. We've seen this, guys, happen a number of times. Us as the community, we can echo these games into existence. I'll give you a perfect example. I've been preaching on this YouTube channel to get a Dead Space 4 made, to have another Dead Space continuation made, and it felt like forever, and it felt like we weren't making any headway, and I was starting to get concerned about it, but then all of a sudden, Dead Space gets announced. It's because, guys, there's a movement around Dead Space. There's people in the community that still love this franchise, even though it's a niche, in the horror space, and I feel like it really transcended the horror genre as we know it in gaming. But there was a lot of doubt I had at some point that we were ever going to get a continuation, and we got a continuation, which is awesome, in the form of a remake, which is great because then the future of Dead Space could be, kind of take us into the next generation of gaming. The same thing can happen here, but it really comes down to us as the community. We have to voice our opinion, guys, that we want another Evolve title made, whether that's through social media. No matter where it is, guys, that's how you echo games into existence. It's the community. Sure, obviously these are businesses that are looking at the numbers. They're looking at the reception of what the games are doing. They're the ones that are going to look at that and they're going to say, typically, if it does really well, they're going to say, yeah, we're going to green light this. But from this perspective, this is a title that hasn't come out in a long time, guys, or I should say a sequel to it has not come out. And so, we're looking back all the way to 2015. So what I'm saying, guys, is this. Will we see an Evolve 2? We could see an Evolve 2. It seems pretty doubtful at this point, but we as the community can really dictate what happens here based on our actions on social media, based on what we do to try to get this game made, echoing it into existence. That's what we got to do, guys. If you want to see an Evolve 2 made, definitely reach out to the developers, being Turtle Rock Studios, to the publisher, being 2K Games. Reach out to these companies, guys, and voice that you want to see an Evolve 2. We know Turtle Rock Studios is working currently on Back 4 Blood, which is a spiritual successor, of course, to Left 4 Dead. 2K Games has their hands in a number of different things, probably all hands on deck with Grand Theft Auto. The fact of the matter is that the CEO said that he wanted this to be a permanent title in their, of their lineup of games, joining Red Dead Redemption, joining that of Grand Theft Auto. That's a big statement. So there were plans to make Evolve a big, long-withstanding franchise. I want to hear from you guys. What do you think it's going to take for us to see in Evolve 2? Does it seem doubtful to you? Do you think we can make it happen as a community? Let's have a real conversation about it in the comment section down below. And for more Evolve 2 content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. And with that being said, everyone, I hope you guys did enjoy this episode of the 8 Below Show. And if you guys did, leave a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, stay positive, and as always, I'll talk to you guys all in the next one. Peace.